Christ in you, the hope of glory. We thank God so much for another opportunity for us to come your way. I believe that you are taking good care of yourself. Today we are looking at a subject that is very critical, especially in the times in which we find ourselves. We know that because of COVID-19, most of you are home and you are learning online, and almost everything we are doing now is centered around technology and things around that. So today we are looking at innovation, the Christian youth's tool in creating opportunities. We are looking at innovation because we believe that in the era where we find ourselves, innovation is very key if you are supposed to excel even in your career as a professional or as an entrepreneur or wherever you find yourself. So welcome, and let's be on this journey in the next 50 minutes to an hour. All right, my name is Elder Ebenezer Owusu. I am a working team member of the Greater Accra sector. I want to start by a quote that I found, and I think it is very central to what we want to discuss. Some say it was said by Uhuru Kenyatta. I haven't been able to verify yet. But then the quote is, if you really love your children, get a business, not a job. Because when you die, your children cannot inherit your job, but they can definitely inherit your business. In fact, if you die on the job, your boss will replace you before your burial. If your family live in the company house, they will kick them out before they can say anything. So when you close from work, don't go and watch television, kumbadia, laws of whatever, but then go home and think of an idea, of a business idea or an innovative idea. That is very, very important. So we may want to find out what innovation is, and then the moment you hear innovation, invention also comes to mind. So we are saying that innovation deals with improving an existing idea or item or a process of doing something. And when we talk about invention, we are talking about introducing a very new idea or a thing or a process of doing things that has never existed before. Today we are focusing on innovation, and so I want that to be at the back of your mind. Now, the Bible says that God created us in His image and likeness. That also means that God is the creator, and if He has created us in His likeness and in His image, then He has also given us some of the ability that He has. And in this case, I'm talking about the ability to create. You realize that humans all over the various dispensations of time have come up with so many inventions. If we look at the telephone, for example, in the olden days, they would light fire and then the smoke will go up, and then the villagers will see the smoke and then know that they have to converge. Then they moved from there, and then over a period of time, we had the telephone, where you have to wind, and the era of communication centers also came. And I remember one time I had to go and receive a call from my mother. I was a kid. I had to bath and wear my best clothes because I was thinking she would see me through the telephone. But then those era also came, and then we now had the Mijina Bontina Mekase. That also came, and then we had the yams, and then now we have the smartphones, and the world has become a global village. So I realized that the concept of communication has been innovated over time. And even now that we speak, research is still going on to improve how our communication is. And so we are saying that innovation is a process. It may never end until the day the world comes to an end. So we are saying that God has given us the ability to create. The dictionary says that to create is to bring something into existence. Okay, even if you are innovating something, What it means is that you are bringing a different view of how the thing has been done, like the telephone to the mobile phone to what we have currently. So we have the ability to create. God did not give this gift to just a few people, but because He has created you in His image and likeness, He has given you that ability as well. And so when we look through scripture, we realize that God gave skill to people. God gave ability to people. Records say that Noah used about 12,000 trees, big trees, to build the ark that God gave him the directions to do. Okay, there was an issue about protecting God's people, and God brought an idea where an ark had to be built, and then the skill was given to him and he was able to do that. So in our lives as young people, we should realize that there are a lot of challenges around us. There are a lot of opportunities also, because if you meet an entrepreneur who is experienced, they will tell you that challenges are equal to opportunities. And so when there are challenges, that is when innovation also has to come in, so that you bring a solution to the problems that exists in our environment. So we are looking at God giving us the ability to create, and then we are looking at opportunities. There are opportunities around us. There are a lot of opportunities around you wherever you are right now. And I would like you to cast your mind to some of these pictures I will paint in your mind, and then we discuss from there. If you go to the market, for example, you realize that there is a lot of filth all over the place. For some years back, we did not have a lot of waste management companies, and so waste was a big challenge for us as Ghanaians. So what happened is, one man thought about the challenge and realized an opportunity, and then he brought up the company, which is Zoom Lion. So people see the garbage as challenge, but Dr. Sinyawe Japan sees that as an opportunity and has been able to create wealth out of that. That is innovation. And then you can also look back at when the power failure and the light-offs and all those things came in. You realize that people got into the business of generators, rechargeable lamps, and so on and so forth. At that point, there was still some innovation going on. Currently, even in this era of COVID, you realize that a lot of innovation is going on. You realize that the style of work, the nature of work has changed drastically. And most companies still have closed their buildings and their staff have to work from home. Okay, that is still innovation, improving how work has to be done. And then the CEO of Twitter recently announced that when COVID is over, he will still allow most of his staff to work from home forever if they want to. Because COVID has also taught us that we need to innovate around things. As somebody said, necessity is the mother of invention. So as a young person, I want you to understand that there are a lot of challenges around you. Another challenge that we see most of the time is the coconut husk. Wherever you go in Accra, in Kumasi, and all the various places, you see a lot of coconut husk lying around as garbage. But then there is one young man, Mr. Amin. He realized that if you can provide some quantity of oxygen to coconut husk, you can actually get very durable, clean energy in terms of charcoal. And he came up with a charcoal, and now charcoal is doing very well. He has innovated, because coconut husk is in abundance all over the place. But then it took him to sit down and to think through the challenge that existed, and then was able to come up with an idea which has become a solution. What he's saying is that he believes if this product goes on for a long time, a lot of trees would have been saved, because they will no longer burn the trees for charcoal, but the coconut husk, which is a challenge for us to clear, could become raw material for producing charcoal. So that is innovation there again. And the reason why we even want to encourage innovation amongst young people is about the worrying statistics that are there. I mean, the statistics here I'm going to share with you are very conservative. I considered the very lower boundaries and didn't go up. But then they still paint a very gloomy picture that still makes a firm case for us to become innovative as young people. Every year, an average of 300,000 students will sit for the WASI, and averagely 110,000 will sit for NOVDEC. So in all, we have about 410,000 people competing for admissions at the tertiary institutions. Now, every year, at least 20,000 students graduate from each of the 5 public universities. That alone is 100,000 graduates annually. Now, at least 30,000 students would graduate from the private universities and technical universities annually as well. So if you are going to look at the numbers, you are looking at 410,000, and out of that, you have 100,000, 30,000, that is 130,000 graduates. That is even conservative, coming out almost every year. And all these people are coming to fight for the various vacancies that are in the offices. And you and I know that they are not enough. And so the public sector also absorbed just about a little over 5,000, 7,000. It is now there is NAPCO and then other health agencies, so you see the numbers growing. But I realize that it's just about 10% of graduates who find jobs after the first year of graduating from university, according to ISE at the University of Ghana. So you realize that if we don't think about innovation, if we don't think about how we can solve problems in our environments, then we are going to be sitting on a time bomb, because there will be no jobs and then you can't do anything as a young person. But may the Lord forbid that for us in Greater Accra sector and from wherever you are watching us, you will take the path of innovation and from today start thinking through challenges so that you can come up with some solutions which will become viable for profit. So let's look at entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship basically is creating a business or creating a solution that solves society's problem and then brings profit as an aim or as end result. That is very, very important. So that is entrepreneurship. And you realize that if you look around us, a lot of people have innovated around the very processes that we go through in our lives. Okay, there is this gentleman whose mother sells fabrics, and he realized that there is no job to do, but my mom sells fabrics. How can I innovate around this? So he gets in touch with a friend, then they put up a website and then takes pictures of the mommy's clothes and put them on the website and sells the fabric. Now the shop is no longer limited to the geographical area where they are, but now globally anyone can reach out to them and then be able to buy any of the clothes. The same with so many other ideas that are in town. Even Angwamo, I was going through the internet and I came across a brand called Angwamo Special. And it is basically the usual Angwamo that all of us eat. Some call it sweating jollof, others call it braised rice. Yes, but there is this lady who came up with the idea that let me now package Angwamo and then sell to the working class, sell to people who are out there working. Because you go to every restaurant and Angwamo is not on the menu. But there's something that people enjoy. So she just thought through about it and then decided to give it a try. And then now she has a business. All she does is providing Angwamo when there are weddings, when there are funerals, when there are corporate events and all of that. Okay, so innovation is very key in our lives as young people. And innovation must start with an idea. Okay, we say that the idea is the basic cell of every business or everything big that we see around us. And so idea is a cell, is the basic unit of your innovative journey. You need to have an idea. And ideas will always come when you have been conscious of your environment, when you have studied your environment, and you have come to the point that there are challenges here, and there are solutions to be given to those challenges. When you're able to think through them, that is when the success would come true. So we have many people we admire, and there are Ghanaians, there are also foreigners who are doing great things around us. We have the Wright brothers, we all know about them, how they innovated around air travel to the jumbo jets and the Concords we have now. We have Mark Zuckerberg, who started a normal application just to communicate amongst friends, and it has become one of the big companies we have in the world. Even A1 Bread, okay, and then so many others. They started it and then they innovated. They're still the same bread, the same recipe, maybe a few things change, but you see that innovation is playing a role in there. And that is where I want to drive your mind to. Very, very important. Now, because we are talking about innovation, I want to introduce a concept that is called design thinking process. Okay, because before you can innovate around anything, before you can create anything, you need to be abreast with the design thinking process. The design thinking process basically is a 5-step process. Okay, there is empathize, there is define, there is ideate, there is prototype, and then there is test. So these are the 5 stages when it comes to thinking about a problem or thinking about a challenge. Okay, the first one is to empathize. And if we say empathize, we are saying that it is at this point that you, as somebody who wants to innovate, would have to take time to understand the environment where you are. So first of all, the challenge has to be in the environment, and it should be where you are. You need to be there. You need to experience how difficult it is for the people who are suffering from that challenge. You need to be in their shoes, empathize. And it's also the time where you have to put together questionnaires and surveys and be able to get people's challenges, people's difficulties, so that can help you to start the process of innovating around whatever challenge that may exist. Maybe in the course of this, we will use a classical example and build it through the design thinking process so we can understand it better. So empathy is the first thing. You need to empathize with the people. You need to get the pain points that the people are suffering from. And then after you have done that, you need to get to the stage of define. Okay, so you have done your survey, you have spoken to people. Is this a challenge for you? Is this a challenge for you? You can use surveys. And even with the surveys now, we have Google Forms, there is SurveyMonkey, there is Typeform, and so many other online survey tools that you can use. You can use common printed questionnaires as well. You can use phone calls, you can use emails, you can use messages. However you can reach people so that you can get feedback from them is very, very important. Now, this is where you want to draw the problem clearly. You want to come up with a problem statement that this is the challenge that these people or I am facing. Very, very important. So the data and the finding from the surveys, which is the in-person or the print, will point to the fact that the problem exists. If you talk to them and then they don't see it as a problem, then the challenges, even if you innovate around it, there is a likelihood that nobody would be interested in it because they are not seeing it as a challenge. There are times also people may not know what they want. And if you find this as a difficulty, the challenge is that maybe some have become used to the system, and so they feel it's normal. But if you would innovate around it, they would see that, okay, so now there's a better way to do this than we were using, and then they would come on board. So you need to depend on the data you have gathered in the empathy stage to now streamline the problem that you want to address, which is very, very important. So defining is key. It is at this point that you also develop user personas. If we say user persona, if I am creating shito, Eben's delicious shito, for example, I need to create personas. And in my persona, I need to have students, because Shito is a great companion for students. And then I also need to have homes, our domestic homes, also as a persona or people who may use it. In the home, we have the dad, the mom, the children, and everybody has a level of pepper they can take. Some have medical conditions, and so my level of pepper may be very critical for them should they take. So during this point, you are able to now come up with the persona with who is facing which challenge within the same problem you are addressing, and then you can be able to tackle each and everyone's need based on the survey that you have done at the empathy stage. So that is the define stage. This is where you get a clear problem to solve. Now, when we have gotten to the define stage, the next thing, the process is ideate. Ideate simply comes from it's simply to put your mind to think about ideas. Okay, that is the literal meaning I can give. So ideation is very key. You can also call it brainstorming, because it is the point where you brainstorm through the information you have gathered, and then now you think that based on the information that I have gathered, based on the people's responses, this could be a solution that could help them solve the problem they are currently facing. Okay, so that is what ideation is all about. You brainstorm, you think about as many solutions as possible, and then whilst you go through the process, you can come out with the one that is cutting edge, that one that can solve the problem better, and then you can use that one in solving the challenge you want to innovate around. It's very, very important. So that is the ideate stage. And this place, you need to do a lot of thinking, you need to do a lot of brainstorming, you need to do a lot of reflections. Sometimes they say that successful entrepreneurs or innovators are those who innovate around the problems they themselves face. Because it is a pain to you, and because you ascertain that it's a pain to others, then you realize that you can work on it, and then every other person would have an interest in what you have created. So from the ideation stage, we have what we call the prototype. The prototype simply is an early sample, model, or a release of a product built to test a concept. Okay, so now let's use a classical example as our shito, for example. By shito, we all prepare. Let's look at maybe an online store, for example. Maybe there is the need for people to buy dresses, or people to buy books. Maybe you are in school, your books are old, and then you want somebody to get them so they can use. It is very, very important that we innovate around it. So let's use the books example. Okay, so we are saying that we first need to empathize with the people. The people here are the students who are at the secondary school and who are at the tertiary institutions. We empathize with them by going to them and asking them, what do you do with your books when you are done with the level or you are done with the class? Do you pass it on to someone? Would you want to make money out of it? What do you do with those books? And then when we have gotten the feedback from them, then we come to the define stage. The define stage is where we are coming to clearly state the problem that we want to innovate around. So the problem could be that students find it difficult disposing of their books after they have left a class or a level. That is the problem we are looking at. Then we come to the ideate. So if this is the problem, what kind of solution can we create so that now the problem will be solved? It is very, very important. What kind of solution can we create? And that is where innovation comes in. So you ideate about the possible solutions that you can have to solve the problem. Okay, so maybe one solution that you are brainstorming could be that you have to create a platform, and then students all over Ghana would sign up, and then whenever they have an old book, they will just go on there, log on, and then they can post their book, and then somebody who needs a book will log into the system, find that book, and get it at a very reduced price, because the book has been used over a period of time. That is the ideation we are talking about. And the moment you finish with the ideation, you come to the prototype. Prototype simply is an early sample, a representation of the main thing that you want to do. Okay, so if you go to the malls, you see that people who are into bakery, they would bring samples of the cookies, and then you can go and test and give them your feedback, which is very, very important. The same way, a prototype is an early sample, model, or release of a product built to test a concept or a process. Okay, so now I want us to look at how far we have come in the design thinking process. We have talked about the challenge of people having to dispose of their books when they leave a class or a level. So that is very critical. And we have said that with the prototype, it could be that you would create a platform where people can log in and find your books. You could equally create maybe an NGO, and then you would just put the books there for people to come and pick. So in the ideation, these are the thoughts that you would have, and then you will sample the thoughts, and then you come up with one of the solutions that you would want to do. So let's say in our case, we want to build an online platform where old books can be resold to students. That is very important. So that is the prototype. And then I also mentioned that if you go to the malls, you will see people who have cookies, who have drinks and other things. They have stands. So when you go there, then they can give you a portion to taste. And if you like it, you become a customer. You start buying. That is what prototype simply means. After you have prototyped, the fifth stage of the process, of the design thinking process, is the test stage. It is at this point that you take out what you have done to a test. Okay, in the software space, we have levels of testing. So when you have created an app, you need to go through an internal test. Then you have a controlled test where you bring a few people around, and then you take it to a larger group of people to test before you can now open it up to the general public. Because if you don't do the testing, then when challenges are coming, you would always be found wanting. So that is the fifth stage of the design thinking process, where you have to test what you have come up with. And most of the time we advise that you test these things with friends and family, people who, if there are challenges with what you have created, would not let you go just like that, and then you might have lost a potential customer in the process. So these have to be people who you are cool with, your friends, your classmates, your family and friends. These are people who can test for you. Then when they have given you the feedback, you can move to other people in the community, and then you can now release it to the general public. That is key. So let us also note that we may have outlined a direct and linear design thinking process in which one stage seemingly leads to the next with a logical conclusion at user testing. But we are also saying that in practice, the process is carried out in a more flexible and non-linear manner. So when you have gone to empathize and you have defined, before you come to ideate, you may have to go back and empathize because you might have left a detail there. So it doesn't mean that it has to follow linearly like that. There are times it may be a circular consideration that you may have to do. So that is very key. Let us look at that. So in this process, you realize that you would have taken a challenge, which is SS students, university students, tertiary students disposing of their handouts. That is a big challenge, and I'm sure you have that challenge as well. Okay, but now through the design thinking process, we've been able to empathize with the challenge that people are facing. We've been able to define the problem that they are going through, and then we didn't end there. After we had defined, we now came to the ideation, and then from the ideation we came to the prototype, and then from the prototype we came to the testing, and then now we know that our platform with payment integrations and all other integrations that we need to do can help students buy old books from people who have completed the level or the class. Now that we have our online store, for example, for books, old books, now there is another concept I want to introduce. Because our time is limited, I wouldn't feed you with so much so that you may get tired, but I'm trying to get you the very basic things that you will need in this process. At another time, we may continue from wherever we end. When you have innovated, when we have our online bookstore, old bookstore, we'll find a name for it later. Now, what we have to do is to consider the business model canvas. Okay, the business model canvas is a very critical part of our innovation journey, because we are not just innovating, but we are innovating to create solutions which would become profitable. Okay, so that is key. So the business model canvas is a virtual, or let me say a visual chart with elements describing a service or product value proposition, infrastructure, customers, and finances. That is basically what the business model canvas is. Because we have come up with our idea, and because we have come up with our prototype, which we have tested, now if you come to the business model canvas, there are some areas in there that you need to consider and you need to fill. So we are going to use the same idea that we went through the design thinking process with into the business model canvas, so that it makes a lot more sense to you. There are about 9 areas in the canvas. Okay, if we say a canvas, it is a template or a structure which gives rise to something that can become a reality. That is what a canvas is. So in the BMC, or the business model canvas, we have the key partners. Okay, we have key partners, we have key activities, we have key resources, we have value proposition, we have customer relationships, we have channel, we have customer segment, we have cost structure, and then revenue streams. And I'm going to take my time to explain briefly each of these components. So for key partners, our business here, or our idea or innovation, is an online store for old books. Okay, so who are the partners we would need in such an endeavor? The partners we are going to look for are, first of all, those who have the books and can sell off. That is very important. Those who have the books and can sell off, that is important. They are our partners, because the key partner is the person without whom your business might suffer. Then we have the key activities. The key activities are the things we need to do in order that our idea can actually work out in reality. So in our business of online store, key activity includes building the online platform. Another key activity includes integrating payments. Another key activity includes getting maybe salespeople or ambassadors who would help us, so that people will get to know about the idea that we have brought, or the innovation that we have brought. Then we have the key resources. The key resources we will need here are the very things we need to keep the business running. Human resources one, capital is another resource. The books themselves that we are selling is a resource, and every other thing that we will need in order for the idea to work out, and for people to actually interact with the business or the product, is the key resources we are talking about here. Then there is the value proposition. The value proposition is the one line that describes the value you are giving to the person who is going to pay to use your innovation. So in Ghana, we have a lot. The tradition goes on. If you hear that, most of the time you know that we are talking about key soap. There was a company that no longer exists, whose tagline was alone in 24 hours. That is a value proposition. That is the reason why somebody would have to come to you and not go to another person to get that solution that you have. So in this case, our value proposition could be that we offer you money so that you can dispose of your old books you wouldn't need anymore. That is a value proposition. That is the reason why somebody would bring their books to sell so that they can get some money, and another person who need the books could get them to learn. Then there is the customer relationships. Customer relationships deals with how you are going to relate with your customers. Are you going to have loyalty programs? Are you going to send your customers birthday messages? There are a lot of banks who send us messages all the time. Okay, they are building relationship. When it's your birthday, they will send you a message. It is customer relationship. There are times where it's your birthday, they might even send you a small present. Okay, so in our case, as an online bookstore, we can give maybe coupons or gift vouchers, loyalty programs. If you buy 2 books, you get 1 free, and other creative ways of keeping a relationship with their customers. That is very important. And then there is a customer segment. Customer segment here is putting segments in your customer base. So our customers are students, but we have primary students, we have secondary students, we have tertiary students, we have nursing students, we have PhD students, we have master students. So all these groups become segments in the customer base. And it is important that you look at the most viable customer segment, because the primary students may not have the money to buy. Somebody would have to buy for them. But if you look at the college students, if you look at the tertiary students, they may have the spending power to be able to buy the book from our platform. That is not to say the primary people will need it. It's like a toy. The child needs it, but the mother buys it. And that is why when you go to the malls, you see that all those kid stuffs, the toffees, the toys, they are always at where you pay for what you have bought. So when you get there, the kids will definitely rest, and they will see chocolate, they will see toy, and they'll be like, mommy, I want it, and then all of that. These are all innovative ways of arranging the malls. So customer segment is very important. Then we look at the channel. Which channel are we going to use to reach our clients? In this case, we are using a website. So the website is there, people can log on, and then they can buy and sell their books. So that is the channel that we are using. And then beneath the BMC, there is a cost structure and then the revenue stream. The cost structure is to inform you how much you will need for that idea to actually come into being. How much do you need to build the website? How much do you need to sign up partners for the books? How much do you need for adverts? How much do you need if you have to pay salaries? And all these things should come under the cost structure. And then there is also the revenue stream. How are you going to make money? So if somebody logs on to our online platform and sells a book for 50 cedis, we agree with him that if you come on our platform and sell, we have a commission of maybe 20% of the money. That becomes how we make our money. Okay, so then that becomes the revenue stream. Sometimes revenue streams could become multiple, sometimes one. If you look at Facebook, for a long time, they were not making money. And then they started, when they had gathered enough people, the only revenue they started making was through adverts. So revenue streams may come in, now they're introducing other things so they can get more money. That is very important. I think there are a few things I would share also before we end the session would be mentorship. Mentorship. In innovation, you need mentors. Okay, there's a saying by Sir Isaac Newton that if I haven't seen further than others, if I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. Okay, so you can only see far when you stand on the shoulder of a giant. That giant is somebody who is coming from where you are going. It's a seasoned innovator, or it's somebody that you know that could help you polish up your idea or the innovation that you have. So the mentor, we say, is coming from where you are going, and he has seen the storms, he has been through the valleys, he has jumped the hills, and has seen the successes on the journey. So you need to have a mentor. A mentor would have to water you, encourage you, and then guide you on the way of innovation. It is very, very important. So we should also know that you have to choose your mentor carefully. Okay, your mentor should be somebody who can understand where you are. Look at the field where you have finally come due to the idea that we have come across. In this case, we are looking at books. So logistics is part, operations is part, book supply. So we need to find people within those spaces who can help us so that we can improve. That is very, very important. And then the team you are going to use is key. Sometimes it is important that you start alone because it will be difficult maybe to find somebody who believes in the same innovation that you are looking at. But you don't need to give up, okay? You need to find somebody who can believe in that thing that you are doing. If nobody believes in it and you have gone through the design thinking process and you have established that this is a need, this is an innovation that needs to see the light of day, my dear brother or sister, encourage yourself and start it if you can. The team is important. If you find people who can help you, that is also very, very good for you, because then it can catalyze your growth. So that is also important. And then you need to regularize your business or your innovation. Okay, there are times you even have to register the idea because it is an intellectual property. Okay, maybe it's something that has never been done before. It is a recipe that has never come before, or there is something and you think that this is proprietary, this is something nobody has thought about. You should quickly be able to register this idea. Okay, first of all, you register at the Registrar General's office as a business, and then you also have to register as an intellectual property. In that case, nobody can go and then take it from you. And you may have a question that, what about the mentor? Sometimes we share with them, and before we realize the idea is all over the place. So there are times you may have to look carefully at the person you are going to share the idea with. Or you may also consider signing an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, before you share your idea or innovation with whoever you may want to talk to. Now, when you have done all this, you need to sell. When you have done all this, you need to sell. By the grace of God and technology, we have a lot of platforms to do digital selling and marketing here. And our idea is online bookstore. So basically, we can use social media because our targets are all on social media. They are on the various platforms. They are accessible by email and all of that. So that is key. So you can look at social media. Other areas I would encourage you to look at in your innovative journey could be in e-commerce. It could be e-commerce in fashion, e-commerce in something. For us, it is e-commerce in old books. That is the idea that we are looking at. You can take up blogging, where you write about issues, you write about stuffs. There was this gentleman in the United States. The father was a wine seller, and then the father grew old and nobody was handling the business. So the boy started writing blogs on wine and then started building followership. And then that was what he used to revamp the father's business and brought the wine shop back. So blogging is very important. I encourage you. Delivery, digital retail, social media management. You can come together, 2-3 people of your friends, and then start a social media management organization. You go to a shop, we can manage your social media for you. You have a designer, you have somebody who is good at content, you have somebody who is good at social media. You have a company going, you see. So let us not depend so much on employers out there, but it is about time that as young people we become innovative so that we can also become economically independent, and that can also help us. I think we would end our journey on innovation here. In the comments, you can share your thoughts there. If you have questions, you can definitely drop them, and then we would have interactions moving on from there. But one thing I want you to remember is that we have talked about the fact that God has given us the ability to create, so we can create as well. So you have the ability to innovate. I want you to understand that. The second thing we have said is you should start seeing challenges as opportunities, because it is in the challenges that the money would come from. And then we have also discussed the design thinking process, where we said that we have the empathize, we have the define, we have the ideate, we have the prototype, and then we have the testing, which we need to know. And then we have talked about mentorship, we have talked about selling your idea, we have talked about other avenues that you can use to actually grow. The last story I'll share with you is about a young lady on the Legon campus. And then this lady realized that as a psychology student, she had some time on her hand from level 300 to 400. She has classes from Monday to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is free. She approached the seamstress that I want to learn how to sew. And then the seamstress was shocked that, since I have been on this campus, not a single student had come to learn. So the woman wholeheartedly taught her how to sew. And this lady went out of school with a first class, 3.9 something. And then where she was doing her national service, she started sewing her own blouses and blazers and all that. People saw it and they were like, wow, this is nice. How do you do it? She says, oh, I sewed them myself. That is how she built a market for herself. Now, she is a seamstress. She's a fashion designer, but also with a first class in psychology. She has innovated, adding a lot of psychology and knowledge to the sewing trade, and she's doing so well now. So you can also do something. I believe strongly that you can innovate. So start thinking today. Start thinking today about something in your environment, and the Lord would bless you. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.